back, Gearheads. Today is the 92 Camaro project update. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. February 2016 issue of CarCraft. Page 8, 9, 10, and 12. You'll see a familiar, bright, bald head. There you go. Check it out. Coverage from the LS Engine Swap Challenge, LS Fest 2015. Today is going to be 92 Camaro only. You're not going to hear anything about the C10, any other projects that I got going on, just the 92 Camaro. So today, my fellow third gen lovers, it's your day. I've been getting questions a lot about updates on the Camaro. I don't know if it's because all my fellow third gen lovers out there, or if it's because they just want to see a Turbo LS. But today is the day for that project. The motor from the last video I uploaded of it running on the stand is now in the car with the transmission and drive shaft. So we'll start by going over looking at the car and I'll tell you what's been happening. So the motor is now in the car. The 6.0 LQ4 freshly rebuilt. And home ported heads, a little custom grind used boost cam. I did get the oil drain for the turbo welded into the front cover. I did not use the Harbor Freight, we call it brazing stuff. Brazing stuff. I wound up having a buddy TIG that in just to make sure it's secure. I don't have time to mess around. I need to get this car on the road. I expect to have to move not too much longer, so I need to get things together. Ran my turbo drain there. I haven't set the angle exact yet, but it's set at that angle. There you go, I moved out of the way. Made sure it would clear stock balancer. And the feed I haven't decided on if I'm running from the back of the block or maybe above the oil filter where the oil cooler adapter is. But I'll figure that out after I get the turbo mounted. I had the car in here the engine in here for a while, but I didn't have the piping on yet because I didn't want to put the exhaust manifolds in until I put this new steering shaft in. What it is it's basically the same thing as a Cherokee steering shaft, but this is Astrovan steering shaft. I couldn't find any Cherokees in the yard, so I went with the Astrovan version. The difference with the steering shaft is that on this one, the Astrovan one, you have to clock one in. So you have to remove one in, clock it correctly, and weld it back on. And the whole purpose of this upgrade is to eliminate the rag joint that's normally here. You now have U-joints here and up top, and it's a more solid steering shaft that you won't have to worry about the rag joint that's normally down here wearing out. So I had to get that shaft in, get it clocked and welded before I put my manifolds in, so I had room. I mean, I guess it could have been done with the manifolds in, but it'd be easier with them out. So once that was done, I finally got the manifolds in. Okay, in the last video, y'all saw this engine running on the stand and the bare, nasty manifolds. Luckily my buddy Lon, he took them up and got them blasted for me, threw some paint on them, got some high temp paint on them, and then I went ahead and threw heat wrap around them. Thank you, Lon, for sandblasting these manifolds and getting some paint on them. Appreciate it. They say holding the heat in, it's not as necessary on the cast iron because it'll hold it in, but I just went ahead and wrapped it because he had some piping at the bottom, and I figured holding in any heat would be better. Plus it keeps it off my plug wires, keep from melting them hopefully. But holding the heat into the hot side is supposed to help, what, velocity? I don't know. They say it helps the turbo spool, so anything to help it go, I'll go ahead and do that. This side's wrapped as well, and there's all that piping wrapped down there. I'll wrap this part of the piping later because I still have to weld on the wastegate, which I'm not even sure if this is going to be big enough, so I got to do some research. But once I get it all welded up, I'll wrap up this part as well. Now, what it's waiting on is for me to mount the turbo flange. I got the pipe on it already. I just need to figure out where I'm going to mount it and how. I didn't know which turbo I was going to go with, so I didn't want to mount it yet until I knew the size of the turbo and how it was going to fit. Also, I didn't know if I was going to run a downpipe right out the fender. You know, right out here, down here, or back here. So I had to make that decision. And what I've decided to do, I'm going to go ahead and run the downpipe out the back. I'm going to run the exhaust all the way out to the back, run a muffler, but yet have a dump right there at the firewall to dump the exhaust. Now what I'm doing right now, get these wires out of the way, is I'm test fitting. This is a 4-inch pipe, and I'm test fitting it to see how I'm going to fit. It's a pretty tight fit, but I'm test fitting to see how I'm going to run a 4-inch downpipe down here. You know, you want a large downpipe coming off the back of the turbo so that you don't have back pressure on the turbo and able to make more power. So I'm gonna go as big as I can fit down there, and it looks like 4-inch is gonna barely fit with some heat wrap on it, of course, keep from passing heat through. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about my heater box though. It's gonna be real close to it, and I don't have a heater box. All I have is an AC box, so I'm thinking about cutting up the AC box and fiberglassing it to make my own little heater box out of it. The AC box that came off my car. If I don't come up with a heater box, especially a heater box that'll clear that 4-inch pipe back here somewhere, then I'll likely modify this. I'll cut the spot made for the condenser off of it, and then run fiberglass down so I can have a heater on the car. Heater would be important to keep the windows defrosted and stay nice and cozy. I just got some 4-inch pipe. Let me show you. I just got this 4-inch pipe in from Jegs off of eBay. Jegs selling stuff on eBay, but anyways, this is 4-inch mandrel bent pipe. It was 65 bucks shipped, and that should provide hopefully enough turns for me to get up that firewall and back up to the turbo. Should run nice. We'll have the turbo about here, and then run that 4-inch pipe all the way back here, down where you saw me playing with this a minute ago, and into the back. I already have, most of you know, I already have a 4-inch catback system from Mufflex on the car. Actually, I took it off the car right now, but I already have that. So I'll connect this downpipe to that exhaust system, so it'll be nice, quiet, sleeper-ish whenever the dump isn't opened. And then when I open the dump, that's when it's time to get serious. It'll be able to make more boost, and you'll definitely hear it. Now the engine behind it is a stock T56 for now. I do have a Diamond Stage 3 clutch in it. It's supposed to rated for 750 horsepower, so I don't have to worry about clutch slip. But now I'll probably have to worry about destroying that transmission, because we know the transmission is not going to be able to hold up to it. Later on, when I decide to get serious and start hooking and turning up the boost, I'll probably switch to a 480E. We'll see. That's way on down the road. We don't know. I'll just try my best not to break that T56 for now. It has an aluminum 4th gen drive shaft. I'm not sure what they're rated at, but that might have to be strengthened as well. All of that though will be more considered whenever I start putting the 8.8 rear end in, which I'll go over here in a minute. As you see, I've also got all the crap out of the front end here. I'm prepared to take the front end off and start mounting the intercooler and running the piping. I'm going to relocate the battery to the trunk and cut this out. Go ahead and run my intercooler piping through there. Turbo will be sitting somewhere around there. That way we'll have the downpipe coming off the back of it that way. Filter somewhere up here. I gotta figure that out still. My power goals on this car, I was hoping to squeeze the most that I could out of the stock bottom end. I was hoping for 700 plus wheel horsepower. Then Matt at Sloppy Mechanics reminded me that I have 3rd gen rods. So he helped me realize a more reasonable expectation with the manual transmission will be about 600 wheel, 550, 600 wheel horsepower. So looking back at my project now, I realized that I should have had 4th gen connecting rods in there, and I'd be able to make over 700 horse. You know, they can handle way more power, at least 100 more horsepower, more like closer to 200. So if you're in the middle of your project and you're able to get to those rods and swap them out, get some 4th gen rods and put them in there, especially if you've got a boosted application. Now I didn't realize until recently that I've barely shown this turbo in any videos. I haven't done much, gone over it, talked about it much at all. So I'll go over it now. I've learned something recently. This is my first turbo build, so I ignorantly jumped into it and bought a turbo, a used turbo I came across. I'm restricted on a lot of time, so I don't always have time to research, and sometimes I'll jump the gun like this. But I knew a T76 was a common size turbo for an LS build. So I came across this Turbonetics T76 turbo and picked it up for 600 bucks used. This is one that's sitting on the shelf for over a year now. I lost track, maybe 2. But this is what was going to go on the Camaro. I recently learned, I talked to my buddy George, and he informed me to take off the rear housing and measure the turbine, or the extruder, or actually I don't remember the correct names right now, but I got it written down. But so I took it off, measured, come to find out this is a 75-68 turbo, which would be okay, especially for a daily driver, street car. It would do all right, be peppy, be fine. Maybe a max horsepower around 500 horse, something like that. But it's a little small. The exhaust side is a little too small, being a 68. So it was suggested, I talked to Matt from Socket Mechanics. If you're doing a turbo build, a budget turbo build, check out his channel. Socket Mechanics got all kinds of great info. That's where I'm taking my notes from, and that's where I'm learning from. But on his current build, it's Colorado. He's running a, how do you say it? It's ON3 as one word. So ON3 turbo. It's a 78, 75. Doing great for his build, and after speaking with him, that's what he recommended to me to run as well. So I'm going to pick one up here as soon as I can. I'll probably sell this one first and go pick up one of those. Yeah, they're a cheaper version. They're not a name brand like Turbo LSx, but they've been proven to be quality enough. I mean, they do great, do well, and do the job. So Matt's had great luck with them. I'm going to try them out. You can pick up a brand new one from a Viren at VS Racing for 400 bucks. So that's what I'm going to try. That's kind of been a hold up here over the past couple weeks, is because I learned about that, and I need to figure out, I need to get the turbo mounted so I can run the downpipe. Now I know, and now you know, if you didn't know. Now on the 8.8 rear end that I'm building for the Camaro, I've got a lot of information to share with y'all, and I need to make a video on it soon. I'm not going to cover it all in this video because it would take a lot of time, so I'll make a whole nother video on it. But I will tell you that I do have the 31 spline Moser axles for the 8.8 for the Camaro. My buddy Lon, once again, he blasted the F-body tubes, got some paint on them, so they're ready to go into the 8.8. I got the sleeves made to adapt the F-body tubes to fit it. The unit in it's already been, the limited slip unit, excuse me, has already been cleaned and measured. All the packs, clutch packs, got it set up nice, gears, ring and pinion, excuse me, the rings torqued down, the pinion's not, obviously. But I've been collecting, I got I think 4 8.8 rear ends now, and I'm going to experiment with all different ways. I bought 31 spline Moser axles. Those are 350 bucks. So this isn't the cheapest route, but I believe it can be done for about $1,000, and you'll have a very strong rear end that you can do wheelies on and not break it. But I want to experiment with other ways, cheaper ways to reuse the stock 31 spline axles. It depends on the dimensions and how we're going to fit brakes and bolt patterns and things like that, but I have a lot to go over, and that's why I'm going to make its own video on it. Just to give you an idea though, these are all Ford Explorer 31 spline axles. We'll either wind up using 2 short or 2 long. The Explorer rear end's offset to one side, so you'll have 1 long and 1 short. But I'm going to do some experimenting. I want to make the cheapest 8.8 axle I can and see what we got. There's even a way actually where you can use the stock Camaro 28 spline axles. You've eliminated the weak point of being the ring and pinion, but now the weak point will be the axle. So it all depends on if you plan on using sticky tires all the time and how much power you're putting down, because that stock F-body axle will slide right into a Crown Vic differential. I'm wrapping up this video now, but before I let you go, I want to ask you all for a favor. I want your help naming this project. A lot of you may think the project name is the Squirter, but the ones who've been here from the beginning know that the Squirter was the name of the 5.3 that was squirting water, and we put into it. So if the name from the motor rolls over to the name of the car, that's fine with me too. But I want you to name this project, and I'd appreciate it. You have a great weekend. Be productive and keep on wrenching.